It'll be a dangerously cold weekend here across southern Wisconsin. We'll hear from the experts on what you can do to prepare for these frigid temperatures.
And local nonprofits are gearing up for this weekend. The efforts being made to make transportation accessible for all ages.
Plus, a new report finds Wisconsinites are making more and spending less on taxes. Why researchers say the trend may not be good for all of the state's residents. It's all ahead on News 3 Now at 10. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Eric Franke.
And I'm Sarah Carlson. We start tonight with a look at your forecast. It looks like alert day conditions will make their way into southern Wisconsin this weekend.
Alex joins us on the patio. He's got more on these drastic temperatures. The drop that's coming our way.
Yeah, the drop that's coming our way. In fact, the cold front, the polar cold front, has already moved through the Madison area. Rather benign, rather quiet. You might be wondering, all right, where's the cold air? It's coming. It's on its way to southern Wisconsin. Let's take a look at some of the current cold weather headlines. We have cold weather advisories to our northwest that go in effect tomorrow, and they are going to last into Sunday, and they're likely going to last clear through Tuesday. Waiting on the National Weather Service in Milwaukee very likely will extend those cold weather advisories east, and again, likely extend these advisories until at least Tuesday, if not Wednesday morning. I said kind of a benign moving through. It's still 38 in Madison, but look way off to the northwest. It's still 32 in La Crosse, but once you get into Minnesota, you see those bluer colors. That's the start of that colder air that's going to be really sweeping in to southern Wisconsin. Radar 3000, maybe a flurry or two down by Janesville, with the actual cold front stretching from Milwaukee now down to the Rockford area, and that cold air is going to be soon to follow. Tracking alert day conditions Saturday night clear through Tuesday. Wind chills minus 25 to minus 30. We could be looking at wind chills as cold as minus 35. Coming up in Maine weather, we're going to track the actual air temperatures falling, and we're going to track the wind chills. Then I'm also going to talk something a little bit on the bright side about this bitterly cold air. If you're somebody like a fisherman or you go out to do ice fishing, I'm going to talk a little bit about ice science and how this cold air is actually benefiting ice fishers as an example. That's coming up in Maine weather.
All right, Alex, thank you. The New York Times reporting Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has been nominated, of course, to head the Department of Health and Human Services, petitioned the government to stop using all COVID vaccines in the middle of the pandemic. Kennedy petitioned the FDA back in May of 21, asking the agency to revoke authorization of the COVID vaccines. It was filed on behalf of the Children's Health Defense, an anti-vaccine nonprofit that Kennedy founded. The FDA later denied that petition in August. Last year in November, Kennedy told NBC News he would not ban vaccines in his role in the Trump administration.
Well, we are in for another round of bone-chilling temperatures, as you just heard, and experts are urging you to stay safe. Doctors say if you plan to be outside during any of these freezing temperatures, you need to watch out for several red flags. First, signs of frostbite, maybe redness, or even just pain in the body. Then, if you're noticing skin turning dusty, gray, or blue, or even blistering, that's when you need to get emergency medical attention immediately. As for hypothermia, signs in adults include shivering, exhaustion, confusion, and drowsiness. And it's also important to prepare your vehicle for the colder weather. Most people know to keep at least half a tank of gas in the car when the temperatures get this low. You might also like to get your car warm up before driving, but it could actually be bad for your car.
Let it only run for maybe about a minute and then warm it up by driving it. When the car is idle, the oil's not properly lubricating everything, and honestly, it lubricates the best by driving it a little bit. So, honestly, the best way would be to start your car, let it run for 30 seconds, a minute, and then drive it to warm it up.
Aside from taking care of your engine, mechanics suggest making sure that you have a strong battery. You can get that tested when you take your car in for an oil change. Also, you might want to make sure you have good wiper blades and then the proper windshield wiper fluids. That's heavy duty. Also, finally, ensure that your tires are ready for the winter. If you can grip your tires and there's tread instead of a smooth surface, you are good.
A man is rescued after his ATV breaks through the ice. It was yesterday. The Madison Fire Department's lake rescue team was called to Lake Mendota just off Picnic Point after an occupied vehicle had fallen through the ice there. Crews say the ATV's flotation device did work as intended, but the man could not get that vehicle back onto the surrounding ice, and team members in exposure suits removed the driver, brought him back to shore. The man was not injured, did not require an EMS.
Well, tomorrow, the Midwest's largest bike swap comes to Madison.
And ahead of the event tonight, local bike nonprofits teamed up to gear up, and our Maddie Heimch shows us how.
We're fortunate in that we live in this bike-loving community.
Christy Goforth is the executive director of Bikes for Kids Wisconsin, a nonprofit working to give everyone a ride, or as she calls it,
Transportation equity.
Despite its name, Bikes for Kids Wisconsin's mission is to provide accessible transportation to all ages, having distributed over 12,000 bikes to the community since 2017.
Right now we have about 1,800 bicycles in here, and every year it happens. We give them away and it fills up again.
The organization accepts bicycle donations year-round before refurbishing and giving them away.
Marginalized communities, people that are facing massive transportation barriers to employment or to school or even accessing food.
And they're not alone on that trek.
It's an equity issue.
Steve Arnold is the treasurer of the Bike Fitchburg Board of Directors. He says there's no better place to pedal.
We have amazing infrastructure, great policies and investment, and that leaks into the surrounding communities like Fitchburg and Middleton and Monona.
And believes biking is a gear worth shifting into.
There are very few things problems that plague society that can't be improved by more people biking. Health, congestion, pollution, climate protection, traffic, parking.
Which is why Bikes for Kids Wisconsin wants everyone to have the opportunity to take part. The Midwest's largest bike swap will take place on Saturday from 10 to 2 at the Alliant Energy Center. Reporting on Madison's South Side, I'm Maddie Heimsch, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Maddie. Bikes for Kids accepts donations year-round, too. If you have a bike or any bike parts to give, you can find out how to donate at bikesforkidswi.org.
We now know the name of the man who died after rear-ending a school bus in Sun Prairie. Dane County Medical Examiner's Office has identified the man as Jeremy Schmull of Cottage Grove. Police say Schmull rear-ended a school bus January 9th near County Highway TT at Garden Court. He was taken to the hospital with serious injuries where he later died. The school bus driver was not injured in the crash. Schmull's death remains under investigation.
In his final days in office, President Joe Biden has granted clemency for nearly 2,500 nonviolent drug offenders. Biden said in a statement that his decision provides relief for federal prisoners who received lengthy sentences compared to how they would be sentenced today under current law. In December, Biden commuted the sentences of 1,500 people who'd already been on house arrest due to the COVID-19 pandemic. He also commuted the sentence of 37 people on federal death row to life in prison.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court rejects an attempt by conservative activists to obtain voter records. Now, in the case, conservative activists allege that the number of ineligible voters does not match the count on Wisconsin's voter registration list. The High Court did not rule on the merits of the case, rather saying in its 5-2 decision that a lower appeals court did not follow proper procedure when issuing a ruling saying the record should be released.
Wisconsin's tax burden is at its lowest level since 1970. A new report from the Wisconsin Policy Forum found taxes aren't as heavy a burden for the average Wisconsinite as previous years. Since the year 2000, no other state has seen such a steep decline in state and local taxes as a share of income. But researchers say the burden could be moving towards people with lower income as the state leans more on sales tax.
As we shift more towards sales taxes tend to impact folks with lower incomes because they're spending more of their income on, vital clothes, cars, those sorts of things.
Now, researchers say there is a bit of disagreement about what this means for the state's economy. Some argue that a lower tax burden will result in greater economic growth. Others believe if you're not bringing as much tax revenue in, then you're not able to spend it on state priorities.
A reminder, Chocolate Shop Ice Cream is hosting a fundraiser for Abundant Life Christian School this weekend. It's on Sunday. The ice cream shop will donate 50% of its profits to the United Way of Dane County's Fund for Abundant Life. All 9 of the company's locations will participate. The fundraiser will run from open to close Sunday, and they're not the only restaurants giving back. In fact, we have a full list of other participating restaurants donating to Abundant Life on our website, channel3000.com, right now.
After the break, Alex tells us about the alert day conditions coming this weekend.
And preparations are underway in D.C. for President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration. What changes are being made due to the frigid weather? Stay with us.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
Welcome back. Well, the stage had been set outside the Capitol for the swearing in of President-elect Donald Trump.
But the ceremony will have to be moved indoors to the Capitol Rotunda on Monday. Trump announced the change of plans on social media, citing the frigid weather headed to Washington. The White House says it has been working closely with the incoming administration. It's not known if President Biden will observe the tradition Reagan started and leave his successor a letter.
This will mark the first time that a president who has received a letter from an outgoing president may well be writing a letter to the same person who's the incoming president.
Today is President-elect Trump's last full day at Mar-a-Lago before he heads to D.C. Reverend Franklin Graham said that he is going to give the invocation at Trump's inauguration.
Ahead of the inauguration, we checked in with Wisconsin Republicans who are in our nation's capital ahead of the event. Fresh off that presidential victory in Wisconsin, State Republican Party Chair Brian Schimming is in D.C. right now. He's meeting with some of his national Republican colleagues there ahead of Monday's inauguration, and we spoke with him about what to expect from a new Trump administration for folks watching back here in Wisconsin.
You know, I think there's a lot of emphasis on getting off to a fast start. No doubt about that in my mind whatsoever. People want action quickly. I mean, we've had kind of previews from Trump administration folks, not on specifics, but just reinforcing the fact that they want to get off to a fast start on Monday.
Now you can see more from our interview coming up this Sunday with Brian Schimming at 10:30 on For the Record. We'll also have more extensive, robust coverage of the inauguration coming up on Monday, sitting down with U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, as well as looking at how the Dane County community is working ahead of a second Donald Trump term.
And as the deadline for a ban on TikTok looms, President-elect Donald Trump says he's working on protecting the popular social media platform. Today, Trump said that he spoke to Chinese leader Xi Jinping about the matter. Now, TikTok is used by 170 million Americans. But both Republican and Democratic officials have raised national security concerns related to TikTok's links with its Chinese parent company. And today, the Supreme Court ruled to uphold the ban on TikTok, which in the U.S. could take effect on Sunday. The court rejected an appeal from TikTok's owners, claiming that the controversial ban violates the First Amendment. The Biden administration says it does not plan to enforce the ban and will leave that up to President-elect Trump. The company said it will go dark when that ban takes effect.
It is a job that any beagle would want, sniffing out food all day long.
And that's what the Beagle Brigade does at major airports nationwide. Natalie Brand tags us along to show us the important work these pups do.
Standing guard at international arrivals, the Beagle Brigade is on patrol, powered by their keen sense of smell.
Oh, we got pork floss.
There we go. That's a good boy.
The hounds are on the hunt for fresh produce and protein from abroad.
Meat is not allowed to come into the United States. So the pork that's on the rice, that's not allowed.
Not allowed because it could carry foreign disease or pests that pose a threat to U.S. agriculture and the environment.
Yeah, you're doing a good job.
This passenger was sent for extra screening, where additional prohibited items were detected.
We're looking at fresh fruits, vegetables, meats, anything you might be able to plant in the ground that might do harm to the U.S. agriculture industry.
Christopher Brewer, the Customs and Border Protection Agriculture Branch Chief at Washington Dulles International Airport, showed us some items confiscated over the years, from decorative eggs
due to things like bird flu, prohibited,
to herbs, plants, and souvenirs like this woven hat.
These are made out of reeds, dried reed. We're concerned about a little tiny mite, red palm mite.
Brewer calls his team the last line of defense, protecting a multi-billion-dollar industry that feeds the nation.
It may seem like a little thing, oh, I just brought my sausage in, but it could turn into a big thing because most of the diseases involved are highly contagious and easily spread.
It's the job of these highly trained beagles, including Philip, to stop that from happening.
The thing that surprises me the most about the ability of these dogs is just how sensitive their noses are.
CBP agriculture specialist Valerie Wu is Philip's handler.
Philip has found a single grape in the bottom of somebody's purse. Or, one time he found a handful of blueberries. Things that don't give off a whole ton of odor, and he can still find it.
A bust that may seem benign, but could harbor a potential threat, thwarted by this little guy's nose.
Thank you.
No problem.
Good job, Phil. Let's go.
Natalie Brandt, CBS News, Virginia.
And they are sweet. Most of the Beagle Brigade dogs are rescue dogs as well. Customs and Border Protection have about 160 agriculture dog teams nationwide. And now to your first warn forecast. Temperatures will begin to drop overnight.
Alert day conditions will come during the tail end of the weekend. Here's Alex with more.
And they're going to drop and drop and drop, and we're going to see the coldest temperatures we have seen so far this winter season. We've been talking about alert day conditions. We've added Saturday evening for wind chills to 25 below to 30 below, which we've been outlining really now here for many days on the First Warn Weather Team. Extreme cold warnings off to the north and towards the west if you have any travel towards northern Wisconsin or out towards Minnesota. Cold weather advisories as far east and southeast, already including parts of our southwestern communities, Juneau, Adams counties, Vernon, Crawford, Richland, and Grant. We will likely see those expand into the rest of southern Wisconsin. And cold weather advisories are for a threshold of minus 20 degrees below zero wind chills for south central Wisconsin and minus 25 for southwestern Wisconsin. A little bit of a difference there between our office in Milwaukee and the office in La Crosse. That cold front, that's the polar cold front to the south and to our east now. And now we're going to be watching the temperatures tumble and tumble and tumble. 38 out there, so still quite beautiful. But the cold stuff's off here to the west in Minnesota. Notice the dark blues. Those are going to be moving their way to the south and towards the east, already in the teens to single digits. Above zero, I should call that out Saturday morning. We struggle. We might get to upper teens to right around 20 degrees, and then it gets colder from there. As we go into Saturday night, we'll see single-digit wind chills or single-digit actual air temperatures below zero. That's the actual air temperature. On Sunday, 1, maybe 2. That's all we're going to do. On Monday, our temperatures in the morning in the single digits to nearly 10 below zero in some cases, and looking for temperatures between 10 to perhaps 15 below zero in some isolated locations on Tuesday morning. Wind chills. This has not changed in days. This is a very consistent forecast. Minus 25 to minus 30 below wind chills. Sunday morning. We repeat that Monday morning. I know a lot of folks are off for work and school because of the holiday on Monday, but you will be impacted on Tuesday going back to school when we still have wind chills 30 to 35 below zero in some cases. That could be extreme cold warnings for parts of southern Wisconsin. We may add alert day here for Wednesday morning as well as we come out of that deep freeze. And then we moderate later in the 10-day. No snow. If you're a snow lover, we haven't even had an inch of snow in Madison. And if this trend continues, may go down as one of the least snowiest Januaries. And that leads me to my next slide here. This cold weather is actually really good for ice thickness building because of this. Here's what we're looking at. This, pretend it's Lake Mendota. When you don't have any snow over the lake, any heat from the lake can escape out to space, and that allows that ice to grow faster and faster and faster. You put a little snow on there, it helps to insulate the lake a little bit. So ice growth, when you've got a lot of snow out there, is a little bit less, meaning it takes a little bit more for that ice to form. So these conditions, on a plus side, if you are an ice fisher, this is actually, this cold weather is actually promoting that ice growth.
And coming up in sports, for the first time in 40 days, the Badgers were back at the Kohl Center. Why it was Shark Week for Wisconsin. That's next on News 3 Now. Normally, Shark Week is sometime in the summer, and we're watching great whites and hammerheads do their thing on the Discovery Channel. Tonight, though, it's a different kind of Shark Week with the Wisconsin men welcoming Long Island to the Kohl Center. Badgers back at home for the first time in 40 days, and Quinn Finley wasted no time to get the party started. Rylan Mosley finds him, and Finley, well, he goes top shelf where Mama keeps those cookies. His 17th goal of the season gives Wisconsin a 1-0 lead. Later in the first period, it's tied at 1. Badgers force the turnover, and Gavin Morrissey cashes in. He snipes one into the back of the net. He scored twice, and Wisconsin skates by Long Island 6-3, the final. The first of Wisconsin's final 3 road trips to the land of 10,000 lakes began tonight against St. Thomas, a team, as you'd expect, the Badgers have never lost to. Mark Johnson's squad is a perfect 15-0 against the Tommies. And back in November, well, they outscored them 11-3. Casey O'Brien, she had herself a first period. Badgers on the power play, and the puck finds O'Brien, and she lights the lamp off her own rebound to give Wisconsin an early lead. Then later in the period, they were on the attack again. This time, Kirsten Sims with a beauty of a pass to O'Brien, and she scores her second of the night. Wisconsin wins again, 6-1, the final. And speaking of Casey O'Brien, she's our guest for next week's Wisconsin Huddle, and you can come out to a live taping of the show on Monday, January 20th at Pooley Sports Bar. Show starts at 6:45. We hope to see you there. Well, the wait is over. Professional volleyball is officially here, and it's only right that the UW Fieldhouse would be the site of Love Madison's home opener, a place that Sarah Franklin, Lauren Carlini, and Temi Thomas-Ailara are pretty familiar with. The former Badger trio, now pro ballers, Madison Love taking on Salt Lake. And speaking of Carlini, it's like she never left. Carlini serves up an ace. Now Madison would win the first set thanks to Frank the Tank. Feel like we've seen that before. Franklin hits it too hot to handle. Through 4 sets, she had 17 kills, and Madison goes on to win their home opener and first win in franchise history in 5 sets. And we knew it was going to happen, but Jack Nelson made it official in a thank you post to Badger Nation today. After 5 years at Wisconsin, the former Stoughton Viking is headed to the NFL draft. Nelson was a mainstay on the O-line, starting 50 games during his time as a Badger. We're back after this.
Millions of eyes will be on the sky this month as 6 planets line up in what's known as a planetary parade. This happened last June, but only 2 planets could be seen with the naked eye. Now you can spot Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars without special equipment.
Stargazers will need binoculars or a telescope to see Neptune or Uranus. The parade of planets will last through the month and for the first few weeks of February, and it's best spotted on a clear and cloudless night, which we assume we might get some of those between now and in February. We'll have to see. But this weekend, the chief concern is very, very chilly weather.
Yeah, if you wanted to do any stargazing, I would be very brief if you're going to try it. But it is a time of year when it is this cold. It's usually sunny out and it's usually clear at night. And the clear skies at nighttime absolutely promote those cold temperatures. Wind chills Saturday night, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Could it get as cold as 30 below?
Bundle up, folks. Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 10.
Have a good weekend.